you, Chairman Kehoe and Supervisor Rickard. I want to first acknowledge the champion you are for your district. I applaud that, and I think that's exactly who you should be, representing your community. I've heard a lot of thoughts today, and I'm going to, Kimberly, where you're sitting there, I was thinking back to the time when you were our board reporter as well, and appreciated you very much, always well spoken, and appreciated your articles, always very factual. I also remember the comments and the presentations at the time, and I'll call it the community agreement that was made. We did indeed set aside the potential, and that's the word I'm using, because there was a caveat of $400,000 for a library. But it came with the caveat that an action plan, complete with all relevant financial paths, would be taken to get that money released. And we keep using the word last in, and there's a reason for that. We are not the McConnell Foundation. We are not administering private dollars. The Shasta County Board of Supervisors administers public money. We are not allowed by law to gamble with those resources. So everything must be accompanied by fact, minus the emotion. I'm a library fan. My wife is a former librarian for the Anderson Library, and reads, I think, somewhere around 100 books a year, and is always pushing another book in my direction, trying to get me to read yet one more book. This is the right path to take to find a larger library. But yet I find some things that I'm at odds with in the presentation, and they're pretty clear to me. One is I don't find a clear financial path. I find hope that alludes to that path. But how many years ago were we talking about now? It must be 5, 6 years ago? 5 or 6 years ago, the same audience from Bernie said, we're going to raise $2 million, and we'll have it done in a couple of years. And we're going to have all the resources we need, and there's $143,000, which I applaud, in the bank. But it hasn't come to fruition because it takes a huge amount of money. I don't see, and this is just, I haven't looked at your plans in terms of what it might cost. I don't know the details of renovating a new building. But in the county world, with prevailing wage and county resources, nothing can be accomplished for $80,000. I would go far as to say that you couldn't even build a bathroom for $80,000, a handy-capable bathroom, let alone a couple of them that would be capable of receiving the public on a legal basis within that county framework. So $80,000 is very low. I am greatly concerned that money would be placed out there without a clear path forward other than acquiring a building that then would cost, I think our last remodel of an existing building this size was about $1 million. And that was a very conservative remodel, folks. We buy buildings, and we do think that's a good investment to buy and own buildings. But it also has to be followed through with the reality of investing money in those buildings, and that's where this plan lacks some forward motion. I do have a thought, though, and I'm going to share it. And I know this is not an action item, Chairman Kehoe, so I'm trying not to get into, I'm not recommending an action, but I will recommend a thought that I would consider if this were to come back to us. Recently, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I attended a 10-year celebration of independence from Shasta County in Cottonwood, California, a library that is wholly operated by the community, that does not have to come to this Board of Supervisors to ask for any path forward, any direction. They own their building, they fundraise, it's an amazing system. They have what I would call a community mayor who is elected every year by the simple method of whoever is raising the greatest amount of money for their independent 501c3 is then the mayor representing the community for the next year. At that fundraiser, the Cottonwood Library, I believe, raised $27,000 for operational expenses for the year. They are not beholden to county government, to the Board of Supervisors, to anyone else other than the community that uses that library. I'm a fan. I said it before, and I still believe that Bernie Library should be independent of the county, completely independent. And I see some head shaking, but this is my time to speak and my time to share my perspective. And my perspective is you should not want to come to the county for direction. You should want to be the keepers of your own future. And so here is the little carrot that I'll toss out there. If we were discussing independence from the county, I would be willing to consider this $400,000 as a part of the money for an independent Bernie system that separated you from the county system, that we were out of that picture, and you folks were able to design your own future and your own path, and you do not need to return to us. I'm willing to have that discussion. Unfortunately, Supervisor Rickert, and my apologies, this is not aimed at you, I don't think I would be willing to have a discussion to simply allow $400,000 without knowing the future. I haven't been convinced at this point.
Thank you, Supervisor Baugh.